Alright guys, I got another video for you. Today we're going to be working on getting our boss to move around in the world and basically just starting the boss fight. So you've got the boss, he comes into the world, moves in from the back and stops, and then nothing happens. You can shoot, you can do all kinds of stuff, but your boss is just kind of doing nothing. We're going to give your boss the ability to move around and start doing things. Okay, in my version of this world, this is my version, I use these little spheres to tell me where the different parts are for my boss to move around. Inside of my boss holder, I have a bunch of markers, marker 3Ds. They're just basically places to mark where things are locations in space, and I put a bunch of them down, and they're in rows. And then I also wanted to see them physically as I was putting them down into the world, so I put a little mesh with it. The mesh are just spheres, so what I would recommend doing is basically doing the exact same thing. So what I'm going to do, my first step is I'm going to add all of these spheres into my version of the game over here. You'll notice the spheres are labeled H, HM, M, MM, L, G. You don't have to use that exact pattern, but this is just what I ended up going with. The H I thought was high, and then I put a middle part, and I needed one in between it, so then I went to HM. Okay, what I'm going to do first thing is I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to add all the circles into mine, and you can basically do the same thing. You don't need me to teach you how to put marker 3Ds. Maybe I can do one, and then y'all can catch up. Okay, so what I'll do for the first one, click on boss holder, add a marker 3D, hit create, and now I've got a marker 3D here, and I can place this on my map. I'm going to change the name of the marker 3D. This is going to be H0. I'm going to give this marker a mesh, and the mesh is just going to be a sphere like so. And that sphere is, I'm going to hide this afterwards. That's just going to show me where the thing is at. The location, let me compare my locations over here so I get this so I can get the same spots. Okay, so -40 and then 50 and 0. Okay, so what I would do is just duplicate. Oh, also these need to have unique names. So right click on it and do unique name, access as unique name. Now I have that, and if I do click on it and I do Control D, it should duplicate that one, and I can move it over into the next spot. Make sure, so 35. So I'm snapping them every 5 right there. So now I've got 2. The name is pretty close to right. Control D, and I'll move it over another 5, and I'm going to go all the way up to 16. I put on mine, it looks like I put 16 across, so that's one of them. Let me go to the next row. I'll go ahead and make that next row too. Control D. Let me see how far down I went with HM. HM, I did 40 on this one, so this one's 40. Okay. And this row is the HM row. And this one would be 0. Yes. Alright, so this, I'm just going to repeat this process, and I'm going to put the same ones I have in there for mine. I'm going to pause it, I'm going to add them, and I'll be back. Hey guys, I decided to stop halfway through adding the spheres to give you guys a brief update. So H0 is at -40. Each one of the spheres are separated by 5. So that means the very next one, H1, is going to be at -35. H2 is going to be at -30. And they keep going all the way by 5, all the way up to +40. There's a total of 16 of them. The very last row, the G row, starts out at 0 on the Y and plus, ooh, which way am I here? Here we go. The bottom row, the G row, starts out at -40, separated by 5 all the way to the other end, at which is 16, ending at +40. So they're all separated by 5. And then the row above that is my L row, so -40. I haven't done this one yet. And I'll go all the way to the other end, which will be +40. Then I have my MM row, which starts at -40 and 20. So I guess I should have said the L row is at 10. The MM row is at 20. The M row is at 30. The HM row is at 40. And then the very top row, the H row, is at 50. So it's separated by 10 in between them. Alright, I thought I would just say that one more time before I finished. Alright, I'm back. I'm doing some double checking on my set of spheres here. All of them should have 16. And they should look like pretty much like that. They all have 16. They end at 40. I think that's pretty much it. Can I push down? There we go. Dang it. What did I just do? Oh, 4 is... Okay, let's see here. There we go. And that's 16. HM on the next row. Sorry, I had a kid come in here trying to record. Okay, sorry. Okay, HM0. Click, 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 click. Going all the way down over to 16. Then M all the way over to 16. MM all the way over to 16. If you're wondering why the lettering is the way it is, I don't know. I just made it up while I was going. There's nothing special about those letters. If you choose to use different letters, you can use different letters. You could also not do it this way, but this is how I did it. The reason why I'm doing it why we're doing this is these are all the different movement excuse me. These are all the different movement places I want for my boss to have. So whenever I was originally making this, I was like, oh, where can my boss go to? Where can it move, etc. Essentially what I'm going to do, or what we're going to do, is we're going to tell the boss, I want you to move to, and then select one of these rows and one of the numbers. So either like on the M row, go to the M row number 6, and then it'll move over there to that row or whatever, and then move to a different row. So these are just our different positions where our boss can move. And then, for example, like if you want to, like let's say your pattern's a little bit different, maybe your stage is a little bit bigger or smaller. If you don't like one, you can get rid of it, or maybe move it into a different position. Like, I don't know, maybe the top corner or something is not great. And you're like, oh, it needs to be down one or over here, you know, then you can move it around, and then that point shifts. So basically we're going to make it where the boss moves to the different spheres in the world. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on. Okay, so I've got all these spheres placed. Now let's see if we can't get our boss to move to one of those spheres, move to one of those locations. I'm going to go to my boss. My boss has some animations already. Hopefully yours has some. I'm going to go to the top, and I'm going to add a script to my boss here. And I'm going to put this in a folder. Let me go up. Scripts. Enemies. I'm going to make a folder for bosses. Why do I have caps lock on? Bosses. And Spoon Boss. Open. Create. Okay, I probably need to fill in some of this, so let me fill in at least a little bit for you guys, and you can copy that. So I'm going to pause again. Alright, I added some stuff. We're going to just go through this real quick. I'm trying to explain a couple of things. There's probably some more stuff I need to add, but let's start with boss holder. That's just the node that holds the boss. Basically, in the test world right here, your holder, we're going to drop the boss into this node. I think he probably already gets dropped into there, but we'll have to make sure that's what happens. Alright, first thing. And then you have these locations. This is just a visual representation for me to look at. I made this on my other one here. You can see that it starts H0 there and then goes all the way across. I didn't fill in all of them because I can kind of line it up myself with in my eyes. They're all 10 apart, so they're 10 apart. The middle location is 0, 50. Top right is 40, 50. Top left is negative 40, 50. Anyway, so this is just the stage, and so I can know where the different things are. Actions. These are the different actions or things that the boss can do. Let me edit this just a little bit. So your boss, you can give him all those, whatever actions you want him to have. We're going to start off by just using the move action. These are the ones I use for Mr. Smith's character. He can look around. He has an idle setting. He has an attack called Beard Punch. He also has Shooting Teeth. And then he has Sweeping Punches, which is like where he moves from one side to the other. And then Quip, that's whenever he basically just sits there and looks around and mocks the student by saying whatever quip, like I don't know, like a short, set of words that he says to the player. You'll notice right here, rows or row. I have all the rows listed, but I commented out some of them. Mr. Smith's character only moves on the HM row and the M row, which is these two. So he basically goes from here to here. He might go down a little bit more. Anyway, and then when he does Sweeping Beard Punches, I think he moves over here and goes to the other side and back and forth. But these are the places that he can move. So just because all of those circles are there doesn't necessarily mean he uses all of them. Then we have a row and a column. Row being the number 0. Maybe I should write that. 0 through 16. And then the columns being these... man, I guess I messed that up. I'm not going to have to... That should be... Geez, the rows should be... Well, I guess that's right. The columns are the numbers. Okay, let me do this. So, I thought I messed up. So, the rows are actually H through G. And then the columns are 0 through 16. Okay, that's fine. I didn't mess that up. The next thing, random number generator. This is just to help us select the different spots. Random number selection stuff. I've started adding in this initial setup thing that just means like if I have a whole bunch of things that need to happen right off the bat, instead of throwing them all into ready function, I kind of hide them away in a second function. That might be stupid, but I do that. So this just, all this does, this initial setup, is it mixes up the random number generator. That's all I'm doing right now. Then I added in some other functions that we're going to have to call and move from. Okay, so the first one is begin boss fight. So after the boss is fully loaded in and in position, we call this function to allow him to start doing boss stuff. Perfect. Perfect. This one, this is just going to go up here and select a spot based upon our rows and columns that we want to use. So when I call this function, I want to select a random spot. And it sends it back. That's what this one is going to do. And then this one here is action complete. Basically, the action is done and it's time to choose a new action. This is called when an action is finished and it is time to select another action to continue the fight. Alright, so we actually need one more thing. This only selects a spot. It doesn't actually move us. So we need a function to actually move us to that location. So we'll say function move. Let me make sure I match the name over here. I'm basing this off of the stuff I already have. Okay, so it's called move to location right here, like this. We will not give it any arguments right now. So move to location, pass. This will move our boss from one spot to another. Okay, perfect. Here's the basic setup we're going to have. There's going to be a lot more functions, but I want to just get him moving in the first place. Alright, I'm running low on time, so I'm going to pause this and I'm going to fill in the first movement and we'll talk about it. Okay, added a little bit of stuff. We're going to talk about it real quick. Focus your attention down here to the bottom. This is our movement tween. This is what this requires in order to get called and work. Is this needs a vector 3, which is an X, a Y, and a Z. Those are the X, Y, Z locations for each one of these spheres. So if you look at that script again, it needs move to a location, and the location is X, Y, Z. First step is create the tween, and then this tween is how he's going to move around. So it says, Mr. Tween, I want you to adjust a property on who. The who is our self, which is the grammar specialist, Miss Spoon. What property do we want to tween? The position of Miss Spoon. Where do we want to go, which is this vector 3 that we're going to send it. How long do we want you to take to get there? 1 second. How do you want you to get there? This is this transition. Basically, I think we've went over that before. This is just how it gets there. We're going to use the sine transition instead of just doing a linear movement. The next thing is this tween mover is going to wait for 2 seconds. So she's not just moving boop, 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 just over and over like that. This is going to wait till she's going to get there, wait 2 seconds, and then we are going to call a new function after that. And the function we're going to call is action complete. Now let's go look at what action complete does. So that's going to, after you move, it's basically going to bounce up to here, and now we're into action complete. Action complete, the first thing it does is it creates a new variable called new action. And what does that do? Well, that goes up here to our list of actions and selects one of them randomly. If I had a whole bunch of them in here, then it would select between more of them. Currently, I only have move, so it's going to say, hey, it's only going to select the move action. So new action is going to be move, and then it's going to select a random location. We'll talk about that here in just 1 second. And then it's going to call the move to location. This function, select new action, or select random location, it does some stuff to tell it where to go, and it feeds it this vector 3 here. Let's see, I was going to say something. Oh, right here, eventually you'll add in those other buttons. So you'll do like elif new action is equal to, I don't know, whatever stuff you might have, like slap, or whatever attacks or whatever you might have. You'll just add the other actions. So this thing randomly selects it, and then if it falls into one of these categories, then it goes through and does all the stuff. Okay. All right, so now we know how action complete works. We know how move to location works. Let's move up to select random movement location. So this goes up to our columns, and it gives us a range of columns we can choose from. It looks like I selected from 2 to 15. Let me get rid of these right here. Select a column, some number. All right, so it's going to give me a number from 2 to 15. If you look up here, that's going to put me in this range, 2 all the way to 15. So I'm not using my entire system I set up. I'm only going from 2 to 15. You can select whatever number you want. The rows, now it does basically the same thing that this action guy does here, but it selects from a row. Currently, the only rows I have to use are HM and M, and those are this band. So my character will only move in that area right there. If you want to move in more places, then you could select more of them, like L, M, M, and G. You can add more height, or H. Okay. So it selects a column, it selects a row, and then look at this. It takes the row, which is a string of either HM or M, and it adds to the back of it this number here. So when it does that, it's going to basically choose one of these spots and store it in location name. Now, you'll notice this weird thing. What is this? Boss holder request location request, and it's sending that name we just created. Select a marker by name right there. Okay, so this boss holder, that is my parent that's holding all of this stuff. Now what do? I go to it and I ask it to give me a location. This is the boss holder. Give me a location. Well, on my boss holder, I did this while it was paused, so you guys are going to need to do this right now. Click on your boss holder and add a script to it. Attach a script. I saved my script in the scripts levels boss holder right there. So mine's in here under scripts levels boss holder script. I made a boss holder script. And here's what my boss holder script is. It looks really simple. I made this function. It receives name of a child of one of these markers. Once it receives that name, what does it do? It goes to the node. It gets its node by name and figures out what its location is. That is a vector 3. Mr. Eversole, what are you talking about, this vector 3? Well, here's what a vector 3 is. If you click on the node over here, position X, Y, Z, that's what I mean by vector 3. 3, X, Y, and Z. So it's just sending back, it's going to the node's name, finding it by name, and grabbing the global position XYZ. And it sends back that information to her. Whoever asked, it's sending it right back. Okay, back to Spoon Boss. Okay, so Spoon Boss gets that information or that location, and it sends it back. So when you call the select random movement location, it does all that stuff and sends back that vector 3 that we just got. And then it calls our move location guy here. And then this guy just basically moves our character again and then waits 2 seconds and then says, hey, my action is done. And then it comes back here, selects a new action, and everything's just going to repeat. These 3 steps right here, action complete, calls move location. Move location requests or needs a location, so we call let me start over. Action complete selects a random action, then it selects a random location with this function, then it calls move and it sends it that location, and these 3 are just going to keep repeating just over and over and over. And what we're going to do is we'll eventually fill in more of these idle and whatever attacks. Okay, that's great. Begin boss fight. When this function is called, what is right now, it's really simple. It just starts that process of going through those. All right. Now, the last thing we need to do is your boss, if I click play on mine, he's going to start moving around. This function has to be called 1 time. Now, you want to call this function after your boss has finished loading into the screen. All right, here's where you're going to do that. Go to your test world. Click. I think the squirt holder was the one that we made move in. Yeah, here it is, I think. Hold on. No, it's spawn holder. There we go. Okay, so you should have this stuff working from last time. And then we needed to call, this function gets called right here. Your function probably doesn't have this boss argument in here, and it probably also doesn't have this begin boss fight. This begin boss fight is on our spoon. So if I go back to my spoon here, nope, I need to go back to my spoon. Let's go back to my spoon. Begin boss fight. See that function right there? That is inside of our guy. Dang, I keep clicking the wrong one. This is inside a spoon. This function is inside of my boss. Okay. So this begin boss battle, I put the argument of tell that boss. The boss right there is Miss Spoon. How does this function know? Well, if you come right here on my mover tween, this is the function. This moves the boss into center stage. Okay, so right here on this mover tween callback, we called this. But now I need to send it a little bit of information or this argument of who it is, the boss. So I connected the boss that we loaded. So we load this new boss, load the boss into the game right there, and that adds him to the child of the boss holder. And then once we've finally put him into the center stage, we then call this begin boss battle function, and we tell it which boss needs to begin fighting. So boss starts the fight. Okay, I know that was a whole bunch of stuff. Perhaps you can watch it again, but because you have the benefit of rewinding and stuff, so I'm going to hit play, and here's what's going to happen. The boss is going to load into the game from really far away, get to the middle, and then the boss fight starts. It tells the boss, hey, start picking a random location to move around in the game. If you want your boss to move to different places, then you need to add more or unlock different rows. Like if you want your boss to go all the way down here, or you want him to go over here, you need to make sure it can get to those different locations. But right now, the spoon is only choosing one from this row or this row. And it's just going to move around, and then we'll add some more stuff to it. Alright, this video got extremely long, so I need to stop. See y'all in the next one.